Jeff, we've got some more breaking news. I don't know why this keeps happening when we're recording, but Mondays are busy. Check out the new report that we've got here.
Here we go.
WWE. This is a report directly from PW Insider, and it's recapped to say WWE is potentially looking at the weekend of July 12th in Atlanta for Evolution 2, timed with a Saturday night's main event taping the same weekend. Jeff, are you familiar with any other big wrestling events happening on Saturday, July 12th? Maybe at Globe Life Field in Arlington.
Conrad, can you put that graphic up again, Silva? I'm just like, this just came out, right?
Yeah, just now. So not only has WWE counter-programmed AEW's first ever stadium show here in America with a free Saturday night's main event both on NBC and Peacock, but as if that wasn't enough, now they're going to be doing Evolution 2 in Atlanta. They're going to be celebrating women's wrestling
on Saturday afternoon.
The information is what we have right there. It's the weekend of July 12th. It's All In weekend, where we know in Dallas, Texas, AEW has a Wednesday live show for Dynamite, a Thursday live show for Collision, a Friday night Ring of Honor pay-per-view, and it was a Saturday night pay-per-view, their first ever stadium show. I think AEW reacted to the response of the Saturday night's main event occurrence. I'm sure it was just a silly coincidence. And they moved it to an afternoon start time. And now WWE continues to put the boots to AEW. Oh, we're going to bring back the women's show that we haven't done in freaking years.
In years. And is Saturday night main event in Tampa?
I don't know.
Okay. I was just trying to, that's another weekend. Anyway. Okay. Wow. The wrestling war continues. And that makes everyone better.
WWE Evolution, if you're wondering, happened October 2018. So nearly 7 years removed. And it just happens to be on the same weekend. What do you think of that?
That's what I'm saying is the wrestling war continues. It is, you know, when you look, I had this conversation Friday night, I think, Conrad, with a family member. And when you really drill down and look at TKO and UFC and IMG on location and their back end, at the end of the day, all that really matters to those folks is the bottom line. And I understand that completely, but boy, oh boy, that makes the the knives, the machetes get sharper and sharper and sharper. Very interesting as it drilled. I'll process this the rest of the afternoon, but wow.
Just so you know, they have not officially announced Saturday night's main event location, but everyone expects it to be in Atlanta.
Well, now, yeah, that's why I thought Tampa's another week.
Tampa is coming up with Logan Paul and Jey Uso.
I got it. Yeah. So yeah,
that's later this month.
So yeah, July will be it. They'll double it up. Atlanta.
Yeah, it's the only thing that makes sense. But I find it interesting that, boy, we're dusting off a 7-year-old brand, something that we didn't think would come back. And it does make me wonder, you know, over the weekend. And again, I don't know. Let me go grab my tinfoil hat. But I saw Mercedes Moné doing promos talking about her dream being to be the main event All In, and that's why she's here. She wants to main event the first stadium show. If that really is the direction they're going, and again, I have no inside information. I don't work for AEW, and I don't know what's going to happen. However, if they were really planning to let the ladies close the first stadium show, I can only assume if that really is the creative, if WWE got wind of that and they thought there'd be any pushback about women's wrestling being a bigger priority somewhere else, what better way to counteract that than to say, you know what, we'll give them their own pay-per-view again. It's JCP WWF all over again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's the wrestling war is real.
Oh goodness. Well, let's talk more about 2000. Let's see if we can draw any parallels. Here's what's written in the Observer here. Billy Kidman, Juventud Guerrero, and Kid Romeo from WCW will highlight the lineup for New Japan's annual Best of the Super Junior tournament, which starts on May 19th at the Tokyo Korakuen Hall and ends on June 9th at the Osaka Gymnasium. This year's tournament will be broken up into 2 7-member blocks, although exactly who is bracketed where hasn't been announced. This is topical, though, because Nick Wayne and Kevin Knight are representing AEW in this year's tournament. As you may recall, only Kid Romeo wound up representing WCW. Kidman and Juventud essentially got replaced in this tournament by 2 Japanese independent wrestlers. Do you recall any chatter or conversation in 2000 about the New Japan WCW relationship? It doesn't seem nearly as strong in, say, 2000 as it was 4 or 5 years prior.
Yes. And look, just because the world is goes without saying, Conrad, we both talk about it every day. Look, in 2000, there was no social media. So if you were going to get, it would be, I guess you could say, somewhat in the sheets, would be the news. But when I read this in the research, I'm like, I don't even recall Kidman being an option to go in to Japan. And at this time, he was involved with Hogan in a weekly program and, Nitro and Thunder and everything that went with that. I'm just like, hey, that's news to me. And so to answer your question, the Japan WCW relationship felt to me way in the back seat, but not because there was it just wasn't a priority under any set of circumstances because of, I'll call it, the dogfight that was going on between, WWF and WCW at the time.
Let's talk about some other news and notes from the newsletters in this era. I guess I should give this sidebar. For years, Russo and his supporters have long claimed the Arquette stunt was worth it, and it was a good idea because it got him on the front page of the USA Today. But it really didn't. It actually got him a small blurb and a sidebar on the first page of Section D, more than like 50 pages deep into the newspaper. And I get that we're splitting hairs here. I mean, what Russo is saying, the spirit of, hey, it got us coverage in the USA Today, we didn't have to pay for it. Well, that's true. And I can't help but feel like I don't really want to take Russo to task for that, because if you and I both think the world of Ricky Morton, we had a private conversation before we clicked record today. And if you were to ask him about 1985 or 86 or 87, he'd tell you that every building was sold out and they were hanging from the rafters and the fire marshal was involved. And it's just the way people tell wrestling stories. So I don't really get too caught up in that. But do you think it was worth it? And what do you make of people trying to take Russo to task of saying, well, it technically wasn't the front page of the USA Today. It was several pages deep, but it was in the USA Today. Was it worth it, Jeff?
Him becoming full-blown champion, I don't. I would, I guess you could say, argue the point, obviously in a subjective manner, in that you wanted to get, so, is it worth it? I think you got to get out the balance sheet. Did your hardcore fans get turned off from it? Yeah, they did, I believe. Russo's argument, he'll get up on the stand and say, they're going to be there, rain, show, sleet, shine. It doesn't matter. Okay, that's assuming that your base will be there forever. That's not true. I don't believe, and you could really get into a soapbox discussion and go back and look at multiple territories. The substitutions killed the Von Erich territory. They were doing, 3,000 people for a spot show, and Kevin and Kerry did enough no-shows that all of a sudden there's 200 people. So you can kill a base. That's a myth that the hardcores will always be there. That's not true. You could have gotten to the same spot. And we were talking about a little fine note here that reflects that is connected to me, that Arquette was on the David Letterman show. And in 2000, the David Letterman show it was a, kind of, that's for the complete flood of, obviously no streaming, but cable television was entering into that golden era, that it was, it was big, but network TV is still strong. And he mentioned Last Outlaw, Conrad. I wish we had a clip of that David said, "Oh, you're champion." Well, really, who'd you beat? And he said, "Well, Jeff Jarrett," or something like that. But no. So was it really worth it? I think going back to my kind of discussion, pros and cons, I think the cons outweigh the pros in that, ratings didn't have that big a jump. Buy rates, I don't think they merchandise it with any T-shirts or any of that kind of stuff. And so from a revenue point of view, you didn't really see a return on it. So, okay, then let's look at the intangibles and really drill down in, did the brand get strengthened by it? Did we find any outside audience that may go, "Oh, that's cool. I haven't watched WCW in a while, and so they're bringing the lapsed fan back," or did it create any new fans? We could go all down the list. Conrad, I think when you sit before a judge in Rustler's court, he would say, "Your Honor, I'm going to have to rule with there's more, cons than pros." So to answer your question, I don't think it was worth it.
We're helping people save money at savewithconrad.com. And with all the economic turmoil going on the last few weeks and all the uncertainty it brings, here's one thing that is certain: your home is still worth more than what you paid for it. According to the Zillow Home Value Index, the value of your home is still going up year over year, which means you're most likely sitting on untapped equity. Did you purchase your home or refinance it a few years back and got one of those really low COVID interest rates, and now maybe you're worried about giving it up? Well, here's something to think about. While the interest on your mortgage payment is low, the interest you're paying on your credit card balances is most likely wiping out those savings and then some. So what's more important, clinging on to that low rate or saving money each month? Let's talk about using the equity you've built up in your home and rolling all that debt into one lower monthly payment. Someone who just did that was our man Andrew, a maintenance worker in Tennessee. He needed to pay off some debt, and he needed to get a new roof and some new floors for his home. So instead of taking out more debt to do these upgrades, he came to savewithconrad.com to use the equity he's built up in his home and do a refinance. Savewithconrad.com helped him accomplish all of those upgrades he wanted on his home. He paid off his debt, and now he's saving over $400 a month. He even got to skip his next 2 house payments. And you can do it too. Go right now to savewithconrad.com and let my team run the numbers for you for free. There's no cost and no obligation. And if we can't help you save some money today, we won't waste your time. It doesn't cost a thing to look, and you've got nothing to lose except some crazy high interest rates on those credit cards. You know you can do better. Start saving money today for your family with my family at savewithconrad.com. NMLS number 2129, equal housing lender.